Here's what I wish I knew. Pistol caliber carbine are moving faster than AR-15s in some markets right now, not because they're better at everything, but because they solve problems rifles can't touch. Compactness, ammunition sharing with your sidearm, reduced overpenetration concerns, these aren't just talking points anymore. Some of you will argue a rifle chambered in 5.56 is always the superior choice. I'm ranking these PCCs on a different axis. Adaptability, logistics, and roles where intermediate cartridges are overkill or illegal. The number one spot goes to a gun that balances portability, magazine ecosystem, and dead simple operation in a way nothing else here can match. Today we are counting down budget PCCs that are outselling rifles for a terrifying reason. Let's go! Number 10. Smith & Wesson M&PF PC. Most people look at the M&PF PC and say, oh, it's just another 9mm carbine. That's not the whole truth. This one was built like a commuter tool, something you can live with, not just shoot on Saturdays. It's a blowback 9mm, but the personality is the folding. It goes from a normal carbine footprint, about 33/8 inches, down to roughly 16 3/8 inches folded, basically no longer than the barrel itself in storage terms. The clever part is how it stays ready. It's optics ready, and it ships with one 17-round and two 23-round M&P mags, plus onboard mag storage in the stock, so the carry-the-whole-system idea is real. Compared to the next pick, this one wins on compact stowage without disassembly, but it gives up the universal magazine advantage the next gun leans into hard. If number 10 is the tidy commuter, the next one is the blue-collar work van. Number 9. Ruger PC Carbine. Here's a nerd truth. The Ruger PC Carbine feels overbuilt because it kind of is, on purpose. The factory spec for the classic 19,100 style gun reads like a practical checklist. 16.12-inch barrel, about 34.37 inches overall, and roughly 6.8 pounds unloaded. So yeah, you feel it when you pick it up. But that weight isn't just dead mass. Ruger's dead blow setup uses a tungsten weight to shorten bolt travel and reduce felt recoil and muzzle rise. And in live fire, the gun behaves like it's trying to be polite on the shoulder. The takedown system matters too. Twist it apart and it becomes a storage-friendly package without committing to a folder. That's a different kind of portability. Compared to the FPC, the Ruger carries its bulk like a tool that expects neglect and keeps working. But it doesn't fold into that fits anywhere shape the FPC nails. If you want portability without the weight penalty, the next one starts changing the whole conversation. Number 8. Kel-Tec Sub 2000 Gen 3. People repeat, the Sub 2000 is just a gimmick folding carbine. It's not the whole story, especially in Gen 3 form. This thing is the original backpack gun vibe done in a mass market way, and it still hits that magic trick. 30.45 inches open, then it folds down to about 16.15 inches, while staying around 4.2 pounds unloaded. Gen 3's big quality of life move is that rotating fore-end concept, so you can keep an optic mounted and still fold it. Kel-Tec literally markets that as the point. And magazine compatibility is the whole chess game. There are Glock models, and there are multi-mag configurations where the same gun name can mean totally different mag patterns. Glock, M&P, Beretta 92, SIG 226, and more. So check your exact version. Compared to the Ruger, it trades the tank feel for mobility per dollar. But it doesn't give you the same traditional ergonomics the next gun tries to preserve. Now we move into the AR-shaped world, where the market gets weirdly efficient. Number 7. Bear Creek Arsenal BC9. Contrarian take, the cheapest gun on a list can still be strategic if it plugs into the right ecosystem. The BC9's whole identity is AR9, but simplified and budget first, and it does the big thing the market keeps rewarding: Glock pattern magazines, which means you're not building a separate supply chain just to keep the gun fed. The pattern interrupt here is the side-charging, bufferless concept in the BC9 lineup. Instead of the classic rear-charging handle vibe, you're running a side lever, and that changes how the gun feels in handling. More machine than sporting rifle. BCA has also publicly talked about big weight differences by barrel length. The 16-inch rifle weight has been listed around 6.8 pounds in their own materials, while shorter configurations come in much lighter. Compared to the Sub 2000, this is less fold into a laptop bag and more build an AR-shaped system cheaply. But it can't match the refined multi-caliber modularity the next gun is chasing. And keep watching. After the next two, I'll tell you why the number 3 pick is basically the mobility per dollar king. Number 6. TNW Aero Survival Rifle. Most people think survival rifle means .22 and nostalgia. TNW went the opposite direction. This is a modern takedown concept that treats modularity like the feature, not the marketing. In 9mm trim, you're looking at a 16.25-inch barrel in a gun that's about 33 inches extended and around 29.5 inches with the stock collapse, weighing roughly 5.5 pounds. The "so what" is the toolless takedown. It's built to break down for storage and transport without turning into a bench project. And it leans into the Glock mag pattern. Again, logistics wins. Also, the receiver concept is genuinely different. The tubular upper receiver, being aircraft-grade aluminum, is part of why the gun feels like a purpose-built kit instead of a traditional rifle. Compared to the BC9, TNW feels less like an AR clone and more like a modular tool. But it doesn't give you that sub-gun style compactness the next pick brings to the table. I dropped one detail earlier that only nerds catch. Comment it if you heard it. Number 5. Grand Power Strybog SP9A1. Nerd truth. The Strybog doesn't feel like a bargain bin gun. It feels like a European appliance. Clean lines, purposeful controls, and that engineered object vibe. The SP9A1 is straight blowback 9mm, typically sold with an 8-inch barrel and commonly packaged with 30-round mags, and it stays compact enough that it feels like it lives between pistol and carbine in handling. Here's what you notice at the range. The non-reciprocating charging handle changes the whole cadence of running the gun. Less distraction up front, more focus on your sight picture. The trade is logistical. The magazine pattern is Strybog specific, which means you're committing to that ecosystem. Compared to the TNW, the Strybog is less packable kit and more compact shooter's machine. But it doesn't hit the universal mag dominance the next gun exploits hard. Next, we step into an AR-style 9mm that's quietly become the default shape for a lot of buyers. Number 4. Freedom Ordnance FX9. Micro Story Hook. I've watched new shooters show up to a class with an AR-15 they barely understand, then light up when they try an AR-shaped 9mm that just behaves. The FX9 exists for that exact moment. Familiar layout, 9mm cost, and Glock magazines. Freedom Ordnance listed as blowback, and the carbine length versions put you in that full rifle handling zone. About 31.5 inches overall, roughly 6.1 pounds, and commonly a 16-inch barrel setup. That matters because this platform is basically a training bridge. Same kind of controls and ergonomics people already know, with recoil that stays friendly and fast to manage. And yes, billet aluminum receiver components are part of the brand's pitch. Compared to the Strybog, the FX9 wins on magazine ecosystem simplicity. But it doesn't have the AK-like sub-gun aura the next pick brings, along with a controversial weight choice. Stay with me, because the number 2 versus number 1 decision comes down to one thing: universal magazines versus pure mobility per dollar. Number 3. Century Arms Draco 9S. Most folks see Draco and assume it's all style and noise. Here's the part people miss. The Draco 9S is an AK pattern 9mm that's trying to be a practical, modern host for optics and high-capacity mags without pretending it's something else. Century lists it with an 11.14-inch barrel and an overall length around 19.13 inches, weighing about 6.27 pounds. So it's short, but it's not featherweight. The magazine choice is the tell. It takes EV9 and Scorpion pattern magazines, and Century specifically notes it ships with a Magpul PMAG 35 EV9. That sub-gun standard mag pattern is a real thing in 2025, and the hinged dust cover with a Picatinny optics rail is part of the factory identity. This isn't a bare-bones nostalgia gun. Compared to the FX9, the Draco 9S is shorter and more sub-gun-esque, but it doesn't share mags with America's most common handgun ecosystem the way the next guns do. Right before we hit the top two, remember what I teased? The number one pick wins on the magazine ecosystem and the way it moves through real life. Number 2. PSAAKV. Contrarian hook. Some of you will swear this should be number 1. I'm putting it at number 2 because this list is about why budget PCCs are outselling rifles, and the AKV is a little too overbuilt and a little too expensive to be the most dangerous value proposition. The AKV is PSA's 9mm take on the Vityaz style idea, an AK-shaped 9mm that feeds from Scorpion-style magazines and adds a last-round bolt hold open, an AK World feature that still feels like cheating when you're used to the platform. At around $900, PSA describes the AKV as blowback, and common configurations use a 10.5-inch barrel. And yes, it's heavy for its size. One published spec sheet has it at about 7 pounds 4 ounces configured. Compared to the Draco 9S, the AKV gives you a more refined system feel and that LRBHO advantage. But it's not as cheap or as universally supplied as the number 1 gun, which is why it doesn't take the crown. If I could only pick one... Number 1. Extar EP9. The other 9 fall short for one reason or another. Cost creeps up, weight creeps up, or the magazine ecosystem forces you into a separate lane. If I could only pick one, I want the gun that's easiest to keep running, financially and logistically, without turning it into a hobby project. At around $450, the Extar EP9 is the mobility per dollar problem solver, and it does it with a spec sheet that explains the hype without needing mythology. With the 6.5-inch barrel version, you're holding something around 24 inches overall and just over 4 pounds, and it takes Glock double-stack 9mm magazines. Extar also explicitly markets an advanced recoil impulse damping system, and the practical effect is that it feels softer and more controllable than you'd expect for such a light blowback style package. Compared to the AKV, the EP9 isn't about being a tank, it's about being everywhere, cheaply, with mags you can actually standardize. That's the terrifying reason these things are moving faster than rifles. That's the uncomfortable truth behind the title. These budget PCCs aren't winning because they're magical, they're winning because they're convenient, and convenience scales. When the gun shares magazines with the most common handgun pattern in the country, stays compact without drama, and doesn't punish your wallet, it stops being a range toy and becomes the default. Here's my question. What do you prioritize more in a 9mm platform? Magazine ecosystem, portability, or the way the recoil impulse feels in fast strings? If I missed a variant detail, drop a source. I'll pin the correction.